Hey Marvel fans, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Name and this is The Nerdy Lair. Multiverse of Madness is finally here. I just watched it a couple hours ago. It was a great experience. It was really fun, really hype. And in this video, I'm going to be going over what I liked from the film, what I didn't like from the film, and overall my general rating for the film, and where I think it stacks up in the pantheon of MCU movies. Now moving on to what I liked from the film, and I mean there's a lot to like. There's a lot to love from this film. But there are specific parts that I enjoyed more than others, and one of those is being the horror and like the gore and grotesque parts of the film. Because we haven't gotten much of that MCU so far, and I love seeing it because they went all out in this film, and there are some really violent deaths in this movie and just really gory scenes in general. And there are some really scary parts as well, and I really enjoyed that. And when you mix that with the Sam Raimi style, I think it's truly a great movie separate from being a Marvel movie. I just think on its own, it's a great film. Now, one of the best parts of this film, and one of the reasons that the film is so good, is the writing and the dialogue for the film. And I think Matt Waldron did a great job in this film. I think he's going to be really important for the future of the MCU, especially when we get closer to Secret Wars. And I think he's going to be a very busy man. And I'm really intrigued to see what he does with Loki Season 2. But all I know, this movie was great. And the dialogue was so good, even separate from like the multiverse and nerdy stuff. Just the regular dialogue from scene to scene was really good and really crisp and really fun. And just really enjoyable. Like, it was just a good, fun time. And it just was a lot of very cool lines in the film. Now, the next thing I was really anticipating and really hoping they nailed was the multiverse. And I love seeing the multiverse. It was a great part of the film. It wasn't as much part of the film as I wanted. Like, I maybe wanted to see more of the multiverse. But it was a great tease, a great drop into the multiverse. And I think in the future, we'll see a lot more of it to come. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is the Illuminati. I love the Illuminati in this film. I thought they were great for the most part. I do think when they got in front of Wanda, they got a little goofy. But for the most part, I thought it was amazing. Like when they were sitting in the chair, judging Steven, and they showed that different universe on Titan, and them like killing that Strange. To me, it really invoked that comic book Illuminati that I love. Now, was it perfect? No, but I really did enjoy it. And I think that either R. Steven could create his own Illuminati, or there are other Illuminati in other universes that we could see in the future. Now, my favorite aspect for the film was that it was the perfect setup film for the future of the MCU. And I really liken it to Age of Ultron because they're basically going to function the same way. But when you look back at the film, you realize how important they were to the future. Like Age of Ultron was Infinity War and Endgame. And how I think Doctor Strange 2 is going to be for the build up to Secret Wars. And I mean, you don't name drop the word incursion in this film as much as you do if you're not building towards Secret Wars. So I'm really excited to see what the future of the MCU has in store, and I'm really excited. And I think Doctor Strange 2 is the perfect movie to dip our toes into that Secret Wars nerdy hypeness. Now moving on to the part of the video that nobody likes, and that's me talking about what I didn't like from the film. Now, it's not a lot, but one of the main criticisms I have for the film is that it didn't go as crazy as it could have. And I think it sacrificed a lot of that crazy hypeness for the movie itself. Now, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but I think there's a lot of ways you could have put in a lot of cool cameos where it didn't even affect the movie. Like, instead of seeing dinosaurs or seeing them as, like, paint, we could have just saw a different universe, like a X-Men Fox universe, or a universe with, like, a superior Iron Man. Just something really cool that I can see and know what's out there in the universe and nerd out about. But what I think is more egregious is there was no House of M, but also no mutants. Like the word mutant just hasn't been said yet. And I think Kevin Feige is really just going to wait until like after Fantastic Four to even mention the mutants. Like if you didn't know any better, you wouldn't know that Professor X was a mutant. You wouldn't know that was the first mutant we ever saw in the MCU, technically. And in my opinion, that really did hurt the film. I think that there should have been some mutant or House of M tease. And I think you could have done it in a really simple way. Like when he gets into Wanda's mind, they have a conversation and he just teases out like, oh, there was another Wanda that wiped us out. And you don't even have to say the word mutants if you don't want to. But something more egregious was there's no Kang, or really there's no tie-in to Loki. And I mean, if you think about it abstractly, like the events of Loki caused or allowed for the events of Doctor Strange 2 to happen, but they're not directly involved or connected or correlated in any way. And there's no mention of Kang, there's no post-credit scene, there's no tease, and I just think that's a misstep. I think that if the first time we see Kang is in Loki Season 2 and then Ant-Man, it will be kind of underwhelming, and I don't think that he will have the same gravitas or importance as Thanos. And I also think this was a thing that hurt the film. Now, I don't think this film is bad. It's just not as hype as an Endgame, an Infinity War, or a No Way Home. Now, to close out, my final score for the film is a 9.6 out of 10, and I think this movie comes in at 6th place, right behind Ragnarok and Civil War. And while I'm not as hype as I wanted to be, I think this movie was a great experience, and I think it sets up Doctor Strange 3 to be a wild, epic ride. And that movie will probably be what I expected this film to be. I also think this movie sets up the future of the MCU to be just as crazy as I think Doctor Strange 3 will be. I can't wait. If you agree or disagree, leave your opinions down below. Peace out.